quality of life of a nation, an organization, or even family depends on the quality of life of its people. And the quality of life of the people depends on the quality of their choices. And the quality of their choices depends on the level of their self-awareness. And the level of their self-awareness depends on the extent of their personal development. And the extent of their personal development depends on the quality of insights that they get exposed to. Welcome to Me Too Personal Development Insights with Subira, a program brought to you with the purpose of sharing with you simplified and clarified personal development insights that will help you to ultimately meet yourself. In this life, it is important to recognize that if anything matters, if anything counts, if at all it is important, then it is always hidden. And that, of course, includes yourself. But with personal development insights such as these and many other PD insights out there, they come to challenge you to look within yourself, find yourself, maximize and manifest yourself so that you go out there and fulfill your purpose as well as maximize your destiny. To take you through these insights, I am your host, Subila Kaunda. Now today I want to share with you on a subject that I have titled, Understanding Your True Source. Understanding your true source. Now, whether you like it or not, you too are affected by where you think you come from. Now, all of us as human beings are designed in such a way that we are affected by the belief of where we think we come from. Part of what affects our levels of confidence, part of what even affects the amount of power we believe we carry is actually the belief we have in our heritage or what we consider to be our true source. So therefore, getting it right insofar as where you come from is concerned is absolutely important. To dive into this subject, allow me to share with you a powerful definition that I once encountered of a human being. And ever since I encountered this definition, I have fallen in love with this definition. Here is what the definition goes like. It defines a human being as a spirit who lives in a body and possesses a soul. A human being is defined as a spirit who lives in a body and possesses a soul. Now I want to state that I 100% agree with this definition. But I also want to state that I am not the only one who agrees with this definition. Nature itself agrees with this definition. Some of the sentiments that we make almost on a daily basis do agree with this definition. Even just some of the cultural practices that we make in the various cultures that we have all over the world do agree with this definition. Jesus himself agrees to this definition. Well, let me run you through some of the examples to help you believe that truly we do make statements that agrees to this definition without perhaps even realizing it. Think, for example, have you ever wondered how all of us as human beings have this unique way in which we express how certain parts of our bodies are feeling or the experience that they are having? Let me give you an example. If, for example, I have a headache, here is how I express that. I often say my head is paining, or my legs are hurting, my neck is stiff, my back is hurting, my hands are tired. Now, those statements are very revealing. They reveal the fact that the person making these statements agrees to the fact that there is a person inside who is in possession of these body parts. That's how come we make statements like my head, my neck, my eyes, my chest, my shoulder, my hands, my, implying that this person feels it, that there's a person inside who is in possession of these body parts. But not only that, you may be a fan of music. Now, all of us do listen to music. We may differ in terms of the type of music that we listen to, but at least all of us do listen to one or two songs. I invite you one day to try out this experiment. Perhaps try to get some of those favorite tracks of yours and play them before animals, and just watch the response that you get. See if at all the animals will respond to the music that you call your favorite songs. You could be in possession of certain livestock. Maybe you have dogs, you keep cattle or goats, chickens, whatever animals you come across with, have this chance to present before them the music that you listen to, the songs that you love, and you'll be shocked that those animals will not respond the way we respond to music as human beings. Now, it is not that these animals are not able to pick the sound. They are. In fact, oftentimes you realize that the sound will just end up scaring the animals. Yet, for us as human beings, even just for a baby who is yet to walk or yet to talk, does respond to music. If you have an opportunity, or if you talk to people who've had the opportunity to see humans grow, they will tell you that my child, even before they could begin to talk or walk, I found them dancing, either nodding the head or just moving the body in response to the music that is playing. And there is nobody who even took time to teach that baby that when a song is playing, you dance. That's also just another practical example that reveals the fact that truly there is more to a human being than just the body that we see on the outside. Culturally speaking, I also want to share with you the fact that all over the world, we have thousands of cultures, different cultures. And what makes our cultures differ are the practices that we entertain in these cultures. We have different practices in all of these cultures, but there is a certain practice that is almost common to all the cultures. I mean, almost every culture, when it comes to this particular practice, responds almost in a similar manner, and that is in the manner in which we address a human being who has passed on, a human being who has died. Trust me when I tell you that almost every culture changes the way they address a person when the person dies, when the person is no more. All of a sudden, we no longer call them by the name by which we used to call them whilst they were alive. All of a sudden, the address changes to the body. The body has been moved to the mortuary. The body is now being washed. The body is now being taken to church. Now is the time for body viewing. The body has now been laid to rest. Now all of a sudden the address changes. It is the body, the body, the body. Why? Another proof that even culturally speaking, every culture agrees to the fact that once a person dies, something leaves that body. The person who lived in that body actually goes. That's also another practical example to prove to you that even most of our cultures do agree with the definition that I gave, that a human being is a spirit who lives in a body and possesses a soul. Now, let me share with you an experience I had with one of my mentees. This young man, after completing high school, applied for work in one of the organizations that I ran, and he joined us. He was working with us. Now, part of our culture in the organizations is we meet every morning, we talk as staff, we discuss, and we pray, and we even share the word of God. Now, this particular day, I was the one who was teaching, and I taught on this very subject about the body. And I shared about what I titled the futility of the flesh. Now, fast forward, this young man has gone to the university and he has enrolled in the School of Medicine. And he called me when he reached third year. When he reached third year, he called me. And he said, sir, I called you because now I'm in third year medical school. And something interesting is happening here. I asked him what is happening. He said, we have been put in groups now. And each group has been given a dead body because there's a particular course now that we have required to take in third year where we do practicals on dead human bodies. I'm sure medical students out there or even medical doctors would relate to this particular experience. So he told me that at first it used to be very scary, but now I'm used. We work on dead bodies. Each group has been assigned one. And then he said, but I called you, sir, just to confirm with you what you once taught us whilst we were at work. You taught about the futility of the flesh. And I have called to just confirm how true that message is, because now that I have the opportunity to work on the dead body every day during this course, I have seen that truly the flesh is futile. And I asked him a question. I said to him, kindly tell me, would you happen to know the names of those same dead bodies that you work on? Would you happen to know the names by which those people were called when they were alive? And he told me, no, we don't know their names. And we don't even care. We don't even bother about the names. All we want is to have access to the body parts so that we can learn what we have to learn. And I reminded him that, do you know why you don't even know the names? Because the person or the people who once lived in those bodies that today you are working on have gone. They are no more. And all that is left is their body. That's how come you don't even know their names. The person who was called by that name has actually departed. And I also want to share with you my own personal experience. This one, I had it in the mortuary. Now, I must mention that growing up, I used to tell myself the mortuary is a place I would never wish to enter ever in my life. I mean, I was just scared of having this interaction with dead bodies. So I used to tell myself when I was young that I would never enter the mortuary. But something happened. My grandfather at home became critically ill in the middle of the night. And there was no one at home except my uncle and myself who were available to rush him to the hospital. So in the middle of the night, we got up, prepared, got him, put him in the car and rushed him to the hospital. And when we handed him over to the doctors at the facility there, we did everything, all the arrangements, and we were about to go back home and leave him because he was, they told us he was going to be admitted. But just when we were about to leave the hospital, we were called back to say, there is no need. Actually, the person has died. It was sad news, very sad for us. But then you know what happens when a person dies? The process that follows thereafter, you are expected to visit the police so that you get a police report and then take the police report back to the hospital and then they can finalize the whole process. So we started moving up and down and went to the police. Finally, we managed to get the police report and submitted this police report to the hospital doctor. But by the time the whole process was coming to an end, they told us to say the people who could even have taken this body to the mortuary have actually knocked off. And the time was actually past 01 now, 01 going to 01:30. So kindly do us a favor, they told us. Take this body to the mortuary. And it's a place I vowed never to enter. But I guess I had no choice at that particular point in time. I couldn't watch my grandfather being left like that. So my uncle and I gathered courage and we pulled the trolley, took this body to the mortuary. And for the first time I entered the mortuary, at such a weird time. 01:30. And this particular mortuary that we entered was very full on that particular day. I mean, very full. The fridges in this mortuary are designed in form of drawers. So you have to pull out a drawer, then put the dead body there, then push it back in. But every drawer that we kept pulling out had 2 dead bodies in it. 2. So we kept looking for a drawer that even at least had 1 dead person, so that next to that body, we can put my grandfather. That's the time I had this encounter with dead bodies for the first time in my life. Finally, thank God, we finally found 1 drawer. But there was just 1 person, 1 dead body in that drawer. So we pulled it out, put it on the floor, and next to this dead body, we had to put the body of my grandfather. Now, I remember very well that particular morning, in the early hours of that day, I left the mortuary very disturbed. I was so disturbed because when I had contact, even when I looked at this dead body where we had to put my grandfather, the body had reached a stage where it had become so hard like rock. In fact, if I tried even to pinch that body, it would have crumbled right in my hands. It was so hard, it was ready to crumble back to pieces so that it can become soil again. At that point, I truly agreed to the fact that the body really, truly came from the soil. So I got back home that particular morning very disturbed, and I just wanted to learn more about the human body, because I truly witnessed the fact that this body you're seeing comes from the soil. I saw it and I experienced it. And the closest material I could find was actually the Bible. So I couldn't sleep. So I opened the Bible and I started reading from the book of Genesis. And I just went straight to a chapter which discusses creation of living creatures. I started reading that material. I started reading how living creatures were created. And it was interesting because as I was reading, I actually discovered, that's the first time I actually discovered that all these living creatures that you see were just pronounced into being. That, for me, that was the first time I actually discovered that living creatures were just spoken or pronounced into being. All that the Creator did was to issue commands. For example, to create the vegetation that we see, all He did as Creator was to issue a command to the land. Let the land produce vegetation. And that is how vegetation came into being. The livestock that you see, it was a matter of issuing a command to the land. All that the Creator did was issue a command to the land. Let the land produce vegetation. And that's how vegetation and livestock also came into being. Let the land produce livestock. And livestock in its various forms existed. That's the time I discovered that living creatures were just spoken into being. It was a matter of pronouncing. Even living creatures that live in the water, all that the Creator did was to issue a command to the water. Let the waters team up with living creatures, and living creatures that live in the water appeared. Even the stars that we see, He just issued a command to the firmaments. Let the firmaments produce the stars. And I started reading and I got more and more intrigued as I read, because as I continued to read, I discovered that all living creatures were just spoken or pronounced into being, except for you and me, for human beings. For human beings, it was more than just a pronouncement. It started with a pronouncement, but for you and I, it was more than just a pronouncement. First, of course, He started with pronouncing that let us make mankind in our image and in our likeness. And thank God, because when creating livestock, the command was issued to the land. When creating fishes and all the living creatures that live in the water, the command was issued to the water. When it was time to create the stars, the command was issued to the firmaments. But when it was time for you and I to be created, he didn't speak to the water. He didn't speak to the land. He didn't speak to the firmaments. At this point, he turned to himself and he said, now let us make mankind in our image and in our likeness. And then he said, so that they may have dominion on earth. It's at that point that I discovered that human beings were created. God just spoke to himself. And then afterwards, I continued to read. Thereafter it said, then he blessed them. So after creating them, he blessed them. That's the first thing he did to us. He blessed you and me. He blessed us. And after blessing us, he even began to speak to us. When you just read the whole chapter 1 and chapter 2 of Genesis, you'll find what I'm talking about. So after blessing us, he even began to speak to us. And when I started reading the content of what he was telling us, to me, I don't know about you, but to me, it sounded like a farewell speech. Because in there, he said things like, where I am taking you, I have provided every fruit-bearing tree. They will be yours for food. Now, for me, this sounds like a farewell speech, a speech being given to people who are not yet in a place they are being told about. Because it says, they will be yours for food. And as I continued to read further, remember the experience I had at the mortuary. I wanted to find out the truth. Today, we want to discuss understanding your true source. And this revelation will bless you. It will help you, because knowing yourself starts by, first of all, identifying where you come from, identifying your true source. So I continued to read. And after I realized that after human beings were blessed, created, blessed, and spoken unto, chapter 2 now I continue to read, and there I found something shocking. It says, after creating them, blessing them, and speaking to them, he now then came down. To where? To the dust of the ground. I said, to do what? As I read further, I discovered to form mankind. So for you and I, pronouncing things into being wasn't the only formula God used. Yes, for vegetation and livestock and all the others, he just pronounced, and off they existed just like that. But for you and I, even after speaking to himself, he created you, he blessed you, then he spoke to you. The next thing he did now, he came down to the dust of the ground. And then he came to form man. That's what the Bible says. Now, he came to form. What helped me at that point, I didn't understand, because I thought man has already been created, blessed, and spoken to. What has made God now come down from wherever he was to the dust of the ground? Now, what helped me understand this particular aspect is at that very moment, I was doing a research. There's a certain research I was doing on understanding big brands. I wanted to find out how certain brands have grown to become such a global phenomenon. Brands like Coca-Cola. I mean, how can a brand move from just producing about 25 bottles in its first year of operation to a point where it's almost hard to enter any country on earth where they wouldn't recognize this brand called Coca-Cola? And in my research in Coca-Cola, one of the things I came across is the fact that Coca-Cola have focused on producing Coke, which is a drink. Now, you know Coke, it's a drink. But alongside them, they've engaged a bottling company. And this bottling company produces packaging. So whilst Coca-Cola are producing the Coke, the bottling company is producing the packaging. Now, why is this so? Because Coca-Cola is a drink. Now, a drink is a liquid. A liquid is a fluid. And you know, a fluid can never be taken to the marketplace just like that. You can't move a fluid from one place to another unless you have a vessel in which to carry that particular fluid. So you can't produce Coca-Cola and send it off to the marketplace just like that. How will it even sit on the display? So they've engaged a bottling company that produces the packaging, so that when they produce the Coca-Cola drink, the packaging, the bottling company produces the packaging, and then they put the Coca-Cola in the packaging, and it's bottled up and sealed. Then it is sent to the marketplace. That's how come you and I, when we walk into a store and buy a drink, we pay for the drink and we take the drink. Guess what we do to the bottle? We throw it away. That is proof that it's not the bottle we pay for, it's the content. So That's the time I was doing that research, and it helped me understand, because now coming to you and me, the Creator has created you, blessed you, spoken to you. Then He comes down to the dust of the ground to form your container, the body that we live in. So at that particular point, I now understood that, oh, because we are created in the image of God, and God is a spirit, we too are spirits. And a spirit can never be sent to earth unless there is a physical house to accommodate it, a physical body. That's at that point that God formed your body and my body. And afterwards, He then transferred yourself and myself into your body through what we call breathing through your nostrils. And that's how man became a living soul. So I just wanted to share this with you, because I want you to understand your true source. In other words, the next time you look at yourself in the mirror, the next time you see that image that reflects in the mirror when you stand before it, I just want you to know that that is not you. That is the container that carries you. And it's important that you understand that even though your body came from the soil, you yourself, you are not. And as I wrap up this segment, I just want you to now join me as I make this confession every day. I like to make this confession. I tell myself when I wake up, I say, even though my body is from the soil, I am not. Now, if you normalize this habit of making this confession, it makes you realize that yes, your container may have come from the soil, but the content that lives inside there is not. So that your confidence levels, remember, you and I are designed in such a way that when you come from a highly developed place to a low place compared to where you're coming from, you feel a sense of inferiority. Why? Because all of a sudden, the place you've entered is highly developed compared to a place you're coming from. The opposite is also true. When you enter a low place compared to a place you're coming from, you feel superior all of a sudden. Why? We were designed to be affected by our source. So now that you know that what comes from the earth is just your body, there is no place on earth that should intimidate you. I want you now to be walking with confidence, knowing very well that yes, your body came from the soil, but you yourself, you are not. From now onwards, have that confidence, have that belief that yes, what people see is my container. The real content is in me. I just want to thank you for following this session. And I just want to encourage you to continue tuning in, because in these insights, we will be sharing with you material that will help you unlock yourself, revealing truths that will help you finally face yourself and realize to say, aha, I didn't know that there is this side of me. So in today's segment, I just want to walk away with this conclusion that though your body is from the soil, you are not. You came from a place God was when He was speaking things into being. I'll see you next week, same time, with yet another topic, even as we continue with insights that are coming to help you discover and meet yourself. God bless you. Thank you so much.